Good morning. My name is Klaus Madsen, and I'll be your host for this, the 28th episode of our live stream show, My Diabetes HQ Live. The impact of community and the power of faith to provide support and motivation for wellness and health is an area that has been frequently researched. Today, we have the opportunity to learn from the practice community. We will learn about an implementation of a pilot project developed by the American Diabetes Association and funded by Novo Nordisk. Our guests will present the preliminary outcomes of the program. They'll identify what they have learned, and we'll all reflect on its potential to shape communities locally, nationally, and globally. Stay tuned. Today's episode is coming up. You don't want to miss it. Before we begin, just a gentle reminder, the content shared during the My Diabetes HQ Live broadcast is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare professional with any questions you may have regarding any medical condition. This weekly broadcast is developed and produced by Cities Changing Diabetes volunteers in Houston and Philadelphia. Our two cities are the U.S. members of a global network of 36 cities working to improve diabetes prevention, care, and management around the world. You can learn more about Cities Changing Diabetes by going to citieschangingdiabetes.org. The purpose of our live stream is to help people with diabetes and their support teams. And today we are talking about faith and diabetes. Please leave a comment, share where you're from, and don't be shy, join in on the conversation. Let's welcome our guests. A big welcome to Cities Changing Diabetes Philadelphia Advisory Board member Lauren Grosz. She's the executive director of the American Diabetes Association in New York City, New Jersey, and Philadelphia. And from Agape Family Worship Center, we have Sherry Thompson joining us. Sherry serves as the Agape F.I.T.T ministry leader. Welcome, Sherry. Today's conversation will be facilitated by Stuart Nelson, Vice President of the Institute for Spirituality and Health at the Texas Medical Center in Houston. And he's joined by Serena Valentine, CEO of Core Initiative, who also serves as the lead for Cities Changing Diabetes peer support programs in Houston. Both Stuart and Serena are actively members of the core team of Cities Changing Diabetes Houston and are involved in faith and diabetes in both cities. As our expert on anything health and spirituality, Stuart will facilitate our conversation today.
Thank you so much, Klaus. It's great to be back on My Diabetes HQ Live. It's an honor to be here with such visionaries and such dedicated and passionate people. So thank you for letting me be here. I thought just to kick off our conversation, Lauren, I would kind of start at the very beginning and ask you why American Diabetes Association is engaging communities of faith. What led you to this work?
Well, thank you so much first for having us on today's broadcast. And I'm really excited to talk about this initiative that what I would call is the silver lining to 2020 and COVID. American Diabetes Association realizes that we need to reach people where they need it most, and we need to help all people thrive. And so when we look at the way that we are interacting with our communities, we know that we need to bring in partners that are trusted and that have the ability to deliver our message, and be, there for their constituents. So the ADA sees themselves as a convener, and one where we're able to bring our information and content and resources to our partners in the community that have a great reach for people with great need. And so faith-based organizations and organizations like Agape are really crucial for us because they have the relationships with the community and they are trusted partners. And so for us, we look at them as our fourth network partner. We know that hospital partners and acute care facilities and primary care providers are all great, but for us, they're not really, connecting the dots, and they're not reaching people out in the field and in the community. And so by working together and adding a fourth network, a community-driven network, we're really able to help a lot more people, and also address the disparities, right? And address the differences among us. So we're able to, curate the delivery. It's not just the ADA coming in and providing information. It's the ADA providing information to a trusted partner and then curating it for that audience and really tailoring it to the people that we're trying to reach.
Wow. I feel so aligned. There's so much overlap in the work we've been doing with Faith and Diabetes Initiative, and what you just described. It's so aligned, and it makes me so happy to hear that the ADA is prioritizing things this way. I think I'd like to move next to. So we have this vision. We have this vision to reach faith communities. But how did you come up with this 45-day church challenge in particular? I know, there's always a range of programming options. So how did you arrive at this idea?
So quite honestly, again, it was the silver lining to COVID. So the Agape family, they came up with this program. What started off was in 2019, the ADA was working with Novo Nordisk, and we knew that we wanted to reach families and their children because we knew a holistic approach to treating the entire family and started building that foundation of health and wellness to prevent and manage diabetes was key. So we knew that we wanted to target certain areas in New Jersey that were high risk. We looked at heat maps where there was great need, and diabetes was really more prevalent. And so through that, we came up with a plan to align with 2 mega churches, and we were very lucky to be able to work with Sherry. We had worked with Sherry and Agape the year before. She had invited us to participate in some of their health ministry programs. They have a great health ministry. And we came to them and said, we want to do 3 events with you guys that are focused on fitness and nutrition and general information about diabetes, and we want to engage families. And she was like, we would love it. And then COVID happened, and we needed to figure out how we could reach and continue the work because now it was more crucial than ever. And Sherry said, well, guess what? We have this plan and we want to do a wellness challenge, and we see a way to merge our concepts, which is really why working with community partners is so important, because ADA can't do it alone, and I don't think our community partners can either. So being able to come up with a solution together was probably the secret to our sauce, and it was our ability to be nimble and to try new things. And again, I can't say it enough, this was probably the best part of my year.
Wow. Well, the energy is so apparent, and I love just how imbued your message and your words are with the spirit of collaboration and creativity. So it's recognized. Sherry, I'd like to turn to you right now, and just kind of take us to Agape Family Worship Center. What's the community like? Maybe how did you find yourself there? Tell us a little bit about the community.
Absolutely. So good morning, everyone. I do represent Agape Family Worship Center, where our pastor is Pastor Lawrence Raphael Powell, located in Rahway, New Jersey. And I have the pleasure and honor of leading our Agape F.I.T.T Health and Wellness Ministry, which we launched about 6 years ago, which is all focused on inspiring and educating people to live healthier lives so they can ultimately do what God has purposed them to do. So the work that we do is focused on our church, which, to Lauren's point, is one of the mega churches in New Jersey. We have about 5,000 members, always looking to grow that. So if you're ever in the area, make sure that you come and join us. But a big focus of ours as well is really reaching out into the community. And it's not only just the Rahway community. We open our programs to everyone in the state and even surrounding states. So as you talk about, Stuart, what is Agape like? It is part of our name. Agape is what? Unconditional love, showing God's love. And that's how we want to make people feel when they come into our doors. And to Lauren's point, this pandemic has been a little crazy. And even though we're not able to go into the church, we actually continue to have services online, and you still feel the love, even from a streaming perspective. So if you came to visit, you would feel the love, you would feel collaboration, which is one word that you said, Stuart, which we work as a family. That's what it's about. We get through this together. We oftentimes say we're better together. It's important to make sure that we're offering a broad-based assortment of programs that can benefit our members and the community. So we have health and wellness programs. We may have ones focused on men's, women's, singles, marriage ministries, children's ministries. So it's really about giving back and really about demonstrating God's love to the world.
Well, next time I'm in New Jersey, please count me on the visitors list, because I want to come as soon as possible once things return to normal. Thank you.
We'd love to have you.
I can't wait. Thank you for such a caring description of your community. I feel the love. I feel agape from you as you speak. So I'm really appreciative for that. So we have a little bit of background now about kind of the vision and the community. So I wonder if we can dig down a little bit deeper now into the program itself. So Sherry, I'll start with you, and then Lauren, if you'd like to, add afterwards. I think that'd be a good way to do it. Sherry, so can you just take us through the different components of the 45-day church challenge?
Absolutely. And, as we go back to the very beginning, it was important for us to make sure that we were helping people holistically. Oftentimes there might be challenges, but they focus on usually one dimension, which is fitness. But from a faith perspective, from a Christianity perspective, we know that it has to be holistic. I think it's in 1 Thessalonians 5 and 23 and 24 that really talks about to be fit. It's about spirit, soul, and body. So again, spirit, soul, and body. And so it was so important for us to make sure that we were providing programs and inspiring people to make sure that they were identifying goals across all three of those areas. So what you see here is just a quick description around each of the areas, which we wanted to make sure that we were educating people on what's included in mind. Body and spirit is a little bit more straightforward. But then we wanted to make sure that through this challenge, that we had people choose one goal. It was about focusing. They chose one goal in each of those three areas. And over the 45 days, they were committed to achieving that goal. And then they decided what intensity level they were going to focus on, because we understand not everybody's at the same level. We had a lot of seniors in the program. So we wanted to make sure that if they were beginners, they were still able to pick a goal that worked for them, and they just started at the beginner's level. Same thing for those who were a little bit more advanced. We wanted to make sure that we were challenging everybody, no matter what level they were at. So again, they chose a goal in spirit, have to start first with the Lord, and soul, which is really the mind, and then body, which covered not only working out and fitness, but it also talked about nutrition. So those are really the three components. One of the other things that was really important for us, Stuart, across the 45 days was to not only encourage people to do this as an individual challenge, but building on one of Lauren's themes earlier around collaboration and teamwork, we wanted to reinforce that. As I referenced earlier, one of our kind of taglines is better together, and we wanted to make sure that we were bringing that to life. So people were able to join teams, and we had a challenge at the church level as well. So there was a second mega church, to Lauren's point, which was Abundant Life Family Worship Church, which Bishop C. Wright, as well as Pastor Mary, head that church. And so we had a church level competition. We had a team level competition where we had over 100 teams formed as a part of this challenge. And then we had the individual level. And by having all three of those, it just created that much more excitement as we went across the challenge. And then the only other thing that I would reference is we made sure as we went across those 45 days that we were offering people education in a meaningful, relevant, virtual way. To Lauren's point, the pandemic hit us, but that means that we didn't have to stop with our programming. We could take advantage of, yes, Zoom, which is what we did. And so we had amazing education webinars. We had fitness classes every week. And some of our strongest scores as we think about the results on this program were from the workshops and from the fitness classes that people were able to attend. So every week there was something that people could participate in, as well as education emails that they got every week, encouraging them and educating them on something they didn't know when it came to health and wellness. And then last but not least, we mixed it up a little bit and we added what we call these mini activity challenges. And these inspire people to do something new and different, incorporate a different, healthier habit in their lives each and every day. And each week we mixed it up with something different. One may have been around mind, one may have been around spirit, like challenging people to read their Bible more or to potentially fast for a period. And then others may have been around body, which may have been a water challenge, or pick a new recipe that you've never tried before with a fruit or vegetable you've never tried before. So again, it was really about mixing it up and just giving people a variety of events and programs and resources to really meet them where they are. So that's an overview, Stuart.
Unbelievable. It's just so phenomenal. I feel certain if we were in a live audience, we'd be hearing a standing ovation. It's so inspiring. And I love, we've been hearing this current and this theme of meeting people where they are. And the fact that there's so many access points, at multiple levels, at the church level, at the individual level, likely the family level. I just love it because it's so accessible kind of no matter where you are. It's really, really beautiful. Lauren, I'm wondering, do you have anything to add just off the top of your head? Or I also have a question for you, which is, when you saw this kind of coming together, can you kind of tell us about how that felt and what that was like just to see this program kind of fall into place like this?
I think to answer the first part, to add some more, I mean, it was just an incredible experience, and to see people rallying together and to see the support from the top with the pastors really getting involved was so key to the success of this. And I think what I noticed the most was there was so much interest and activity, and people will sign up for things and then not participate, but people signed up and they were there and they showed up, and that was huge. And I think it made us realize, people are looking for this type of opportunity, and they need it, and they needed to feel connected, and they needed to feel part of something bigger than themselves, and they also needed to work on themselves with a group. So, I think that it was terrific, and there were so many key learnings. In terms of, what was the second part of that question?
I was just asking you something, I guess, a little bit more personally about how, when you see, you have this vision, this partnership is kind of underway, and then you see things coming together. Can you just tell us kind of about how that felt to just see the pieces falling into place?
Yeah, I mean, I've been in nonprofit for over 16 years, and I grew up in the world of volunteering and working with communities. My mom was the executive director of the adolescent AIDS unit in the Bronx, started in 1980s when these kids were born with AIDS from 0 to 3 months old, and she saw them through their teens and their 20s. And so it's been part of me my whole life. And I genuinely have a passion for wanting to see people live their best life and have the resources accessible to all. Because, just because of where you live or the family you were born into or race, religion, it shouldn't make a difference. We should all have the right to health and wellness. And so to see this program come together and to see the magnitude and the reach, and it was done quickly, I think that was the thing that was great too, we didn't have to overcomplicate it. We didn't have to spend years doing it. The formula worked. And so I think, seeing that was really exciting. Seeing the impact that we had on people at a time of crisis and crazy times was incredible. And then I immediately started thinking about how are we going to replicate this and expand it and be there for other people in the community and get this out there, because I just see it as a really great window to providing access to care and solutions. There are a lot of studies that are done to make people aware or to track the prevalence of diabetes in certain communities, right? So there are programs, for instance, you're probably familiar with barbershop programs where they've done blood pressure screenings in barbershops. There was a study that was done in barbershops in Brooklyn to check the A1C for Black men living in that area. And I think it was about 280 people, and the statistics were overwhelming. But it's what you do after, once you know that you're at risk or that you're living with diabetes, that's so crucial. And I think that this is the piece of what you do after. It's how you assess, you look at the problem, and then you provide the solution right away. You hold their hands to the solution. And we really need to be doing that. We need to keep people connected. We need to keep, helping them through the process and be there for them.
So well said. And I just am really blown away by all of this. I love that you invoke the barbershop kind of model, because that's something I've also kind of thought about and compared some of the work we're doing to. It really is about, sometimes I think about diabetes as like this fog. It can be so complicated and challenging to kind of like navigate all these options and different, things people are telling you. And so I just had the image as you were talking of kind of being led through the fog to a safe place, a safe harbor for care and lifestyle change and thriving, like you said at the very beginning. So Sherry, one question I've had is, I think one of the most intimidating things sometimes for a lot of people programmatically is introducing it to the community and to leadership. So can you tell us kind of on both of those fronts how that went? I mean, I think I know the answer. There seemed to be a lot of excitement from the community, but can you tell us a little bit more details about kind of introducing it to leadership and to members of the community?
Yeah, no, Stuart, a great question. And I just want to piggyback on one of the comments that Lauren said earlier, which was this program would not have been as successful as it was without the leadership support. And I have to say that the leadership support for this was phenomenal in the fact that they didn't just talk about it, that they were really about it, and they were a part of the challenge, and they were doing it with each and every person in it. And it started from the very beginning, Stuart, to your point. So I actually brought this to our pastor, Pastor Powell, and it was easy for him to approve it. And the reason why is because, as I had referenced earlier, we started our Agape F.I.T.T Health and Wellness Ministry over 6 years ago. And we started that ministry with our pastor. And it probably took us about 9 months before we officially launched the ministry. And we have been very accountable to him every year with going to him with kind of a business plan for the ministry and making sure we have accountability to that plan at the end of each and every year. And we're showing how we're improving every year on the impact that we're having, not only within our church, but also beyond our church. And so to Lauren's point, one of our most major events that we've developed is our Health and Wellness Fall Expo. And I have to say, we really missed having that this year. It is an event that is open literally to the entire country if they wanted to come. But we actually get a number of people that attend. Last year, we had over 1,000 people at the Health and Wellness Expo at a church. Could you imagine that? I mean, when we first started, you'd have to beg people to talk about health. Right? And we had over 1,000 people, and it's a signature event where we've been able to get lots of sponsors. We have a basketball tournament. We have workshops that take place. We have over 50 different health and wellness education stations, like 5 fitness classes, free lunch, the whole 9 yards. And this year we couldn't do it because of the pandemic. But because of that track record, we had already really gotten our pastor's support. And so to Lauren's point, when we realized the pandemic hit us, and we knew that our biggest program of the year we weren't going to be able to do, we said, but God has something greater. And so I challenged our team, and we created the 45-Day Church Challenge. And to Lauren's point, came at a perfect time to expand the partnership that we had created with the American Diabetes Association through Lauren, who has been a phenomenal partner, and that relationship started last year. So because of that track record, it was easy to convince Pastor Powell to support this initiative. And what made it even easier is after he saw the plan and also saw that not only was American Diabetes Association a part of this, but also Novo Nordisk was a part of this, and that they were providing needed resources in our community to fulfill the entire program, he was convinced. And then we had the opportunity to expand this with another mega church and work with Lauren to do that. And one of our partner churches in New Jersey is Abundant Life Family Worship Church, again, with Bishop Seawright and Pastor Mary. And we do a lot of great programs together, especially in our men's ministry. So I asked our pastor, did he think that they would be open to it? Literally, I don't even know if it was 24 hours. Our pastor connected us to Bishop Seawright. The next day I was presenting the proposal to him. Within a couple of days, we presented it to his wife. And I think, Lauren, a week after that, you blessed both churches being a part of the program. Paperwork was submitted, and then the rest is history. But I think what helps, even in a church environment, and I wear a corporate hat most of the times, I'm a marketer. And oftentimes what we learn, and a lot of the gifts that God has given us and has blessed us with that we use in other areas can be significant gifts for us in the church. And so a lot of the people who are on our team that made this happen leverage a lot of the wonderful gifts that God has blessed us with that they get paid for in their jobs day in and day out. They dedicated and donated all of that time to the church to allow this program to be a success. In fact, I'd be remiss if I didn't give a small shout out to Mary Ephraim, who I work very closely with. She's our co-leader for our Agape F.I.T.T Health and Wellness Ministry. And she's a program manager by training. And she, behind the scenes, truly built the core bones of this program inside and out. And again, gifts that God has blessed her with that she uses corporately, she is now using for God's kingdom. And that's honestly what we want more of, because that allows us to launch programs like this with excellence. And I think when they're launched with excellence, it is easier to get the support from leadership to be a part of it.
Wow. Well, that's the true nature of community, is leveraging your skills, talents, and all towards kind of building up the kingdom and building up the community. I also just once again want to congratulate you, because this, even though it seems like this maybe came together in a short time period, which in some ways it did, and it's very commendable. Your comments just now reminded me that this is built on a foundation of trust that has been developed over not just months, not just years, but probably decades. And so that's another kind of point of inspiration, is that this is the current edge of a long tapestry that's been woven through the years. So I want to just briefly pause, because we have a very insightful person on the call right now, and I really want to hear her thoughts. I'm I'm looking forward to hearing from you, Serena. You have implemented diabetes self-management education and support programs in communities of faith in Houston, peer support programs. You're obviously just so involved in really the boots on the ground work of aligned with much of what we've talked about today. So what are your thoughts about the 45-day church challenge? What's been kind of going through your mind as you've listened to the conversation?
I want my church to do that. I mean, honestly, to set a certain program and set, a program in place for people, because people of faith, they commune around their fellow people of faith, and it makes them feel more comfortable to be around other people who have the same belief systems as they do, which to me, the faith and wellness and stuff all together, it fits. It's supposed to go together. That's how God created it to be. So using that, everything else surrounding it should be the same way. Everything like a certain harmony, and that harmony can actually change people's lives to a point where it can trickle and just multiply and get bigger and bigger. The 45-day challenge, I actually got a chance to look at the website and read up on the program and everything, and I was like, whoa, we need one of these. We need one of those. But everything looks succinct in how everything's supposed to be carried out, and the teams and the having the weekly check-ins, and because it's important to check in with people who are in the transition. And so to me, that's probably the most important part, because of me with my own experiences in my own life. When you're in transition, it's like you want to be able to check in with someone. Check in at some point. There has to be checkpoints so that you can see your progress. So I love the program. I love it.
Thanks, Serena. We often are on the same page about things, and I think we're going to have a lot to discuss together about just our impressions about this wonderful program. And I hope we can collaborate with Lauren and Sherry too, because I think there's just a lot of kindredness amongst us in the way we view this work. So Sherry, I want to jump back to you for one moment. A question that has been going through my mind, and I think probably many of our viewers, is, so we have this 45-day challenge. Okay, it's really successful. People are excited about it. They get to the end of the challenge. They're feeling good. What happens next? What's there? I mean, it sounds like such a vibrant community. There's probably lots of opportunities to engage. But can you tell us a little bit about that follow-up?
Yeah, no, great question, Stuart. And that was a really important area for us to kind of test and evaluate for the participants in the challenge. So I'll just give you a couple of numbers first and then talk to you about what happened after the 45th day, right? So 90% of the participants said that they want to do it again. And when we asked open-ended questions around, what are you going to miss the most, what are you going to miss the most? And what came to the top was the challenge itself. Like, people didn't want to see it end. And so one of the other questions we asked was, how likely would you be to promote this to a friend or family member? Oftentimes in business, we talk about it as the NPS score, right? The Net Promoter Score. Mm-hmm. And for this program, we had a Net Promoter Score of 76%. That is huge. Again, for a health and wellness program in the middle of a pandemic in an underserved community.
Wow.
6%.
I see the marketing nerd within you just getting so excited about that.
Right. I mean, but especially with our sponsors, those things matter, right?
Absolutely.
And, getting closer to your question, one of the other things we asked about, because what was important for us was to really teach people and introduce people to new habits, different habits, things that they weren't doing before, because we do know, I think everyone knows the statistics in the Black community. When you think about obesity and all the obesity related diseases, it is real and it is a matter of life and death. So we take these things very seriously. And so forming new habits is critical in order to drive behavioral change. And what we saw is 88% of those that participated said that they started a new habit, a new healthier habit that they hadn't done before. And out of those 88%, 98% of them said that they plan to continue it. So the first part of that answer, Stuart, to your question is they were going to continue the healthy habits that they had started, again, in spirit, soul, and body. In addition to that, we wanted to continue to give them programming to help, even though the formal 45-day church challenge was over. And as I mentioned to you, it is a pleasure and an honor to still lead our Agape F.I.T.T ministry. And so even during this pandemic, we have been committed to continuing to bring programs and resources to our members and to the community. And so after the 45th day, especially since we saw that fitness classes and workshops scored the highest on the challenge, we continue to this very day to offer fitness classes every Saturday for free to anybody who wants to join us. We vary the instructors, we vary the type of class, and we make sure that we give variations in movement. So that way, whether you're a beginner, whether you're advanced, whether you're young, or whether you're seasoned, as I call it, you can join those classes. And then we also continue to offer health and wellness workshops. In fact, we just came off of a health and wellness workshop last weekend, which I have to say was phenomenal. It was grounded in mental wellness. And we all know, especially with what's going on in the pandemic, as people get closer to the holidays, there's a lot of stress, there's a lot of heaviness, right? There's a lot of still death and sickness, as well as job loss, and people need help dealing with it, right? We know we start at our foundation, which is God, but God gives us other tools and resources for a reason. And so having a workshop around mental wellness and mental health and the importance of counseling was significant. And so that's how we're continuing those efforts. We continue to communicate with everyone on that distribution list, and we will continue to do that going into 2021 and sharing other programs and content that we'll be continuing to offer the community.
Phenomenal. I mean, I think a word that was used earlier that's carried through the whole conversation is holism, holistic, whole person. The mind, body, spirit approach is so powerful because it engages in a whole way all aspects of our beings. And it really, I think, more and more people who are exposed to and aware of that type of a paradigm for health, there's no turning back once you understand the whole nature of personhood and health. It really can be so transformative and liberating, really. So it's so phenomenal to hear these aspects. Just following up briefly, Serena, I wonder if you just, peer support is often invoked as a way to kind of continue a community, continue mutual support. Is that something that was going through your mind as you were listening to those comments?
Yes, most definitely. What I find in peer support, because, everyone has different belief systems and different faiths, so you can't, force your own, even though you may be a facilitator or you're over the program, you can't enforce your own beliefs on other people. But what I find is that because we know that the connection between the mind, body, and spirit, soul, body, and spirit, because that connection is so evident, sometimes people's physical health conditions may be contingent upon the other things that's going on in their lives surrounding them, and their ability to process them, deal with stress, deal with other traumatizing experiences, events, and things like that. So just linking that to what's going on now, but even actually, honestly, before the pandemic started, the pandemic just kind of compounded some things. But before it started, people have other things that they're dealing with. Some people don't have enough money to do what they need to do with concerning like bills. It could be food, it could be medicine. Some people are underinsured, uninsured. Those kind of things can kind of contribute to your failing health, failing health status. So peer support, we get people talking all the time. Most of the time, peer support is them speaking and everyone else listening, just so that they can get everything they need out. And you start to hear and you listen, you're like, well, it's not that you don't want to be healthy, it's that you got so many other things going on, you don't know where to start. And so that's why I think this program is so great, because you can touch every aspect of that and kind of, guide people into their wellness and their best state of health. So yeah, that's what I gathered from all of that.
Thanks. Of itself, informative and inspiring those perspectives. I want to encourage our viewers to post questions, any questions you might have for any of our speakers or panelists in the comments section. Please feel free to do that. We'd love to hear from you. Just to get us started, though, Klaus, I think you might have a question for Lauren.
I do, Stuart. Thank you, Lauren. I know you're reviewing all the results of these two great pilots that were done from the mega churches in New Jersey. How are you going to scale up this program? Are you interested to spread it to other communities, maybe Houston, maybe Philadelphia? That would be great for Cities Changing Diabetes. And are you considering doing this in Spanish or other languages? And are you also contemplating how to scale this up in non-Christian communities?
Yeah, thank you so much for that question, and it's something that I've been thinking a great deal about, and have been working with my colleagues at the ADA to figure that out, as well as talking with other partners in our space. I think the first thing is we really do want to be able to offer resources and programs like this challenge to all people of all races and religions. So, actually, after talking with your team, Faith in Diabetes, we really started to think about, just calling it a church challenge, limit the opportunities, and how do we scale that? So, looking at it from a faith perspective, we're looking at ways to, create a platform that is accessible across the country, and that we can collect the data and use that to, help more people. We're also looking at ways that we can include actual screenings. The program was wonderful, and because of limitations, we weren't able to do screenings for measuring A1C or cholesterol, so a lot of it was self-reported. And if there's a way that we can work with community partners that are doing screenings to add that element, I think it would take it to the next level for sure. And I want to continue to talk with Sherry and Agape to figure out how we can, continue to keep the community at the core, and really work to build this out, because I think the only way we'll be successful is with the collaboration from our partners that did this. And so, and then, it comes down to fundraising dollars, right? So my job is to figure out who can help us, continue to support this, scale and grow. There is a lot of excitement and a lot of interest, and I think we're really looking in 2021 to be able to roll this out across multiple markets, expand that. And this year we reached 1,036 people, I believe it was, through the challenge. In year 2, based on the model that we're trying to develop, we could reach anywhere from 5,000 to 25,000 people. And that would be amazing. And then in year 3 and 4, to continue that, there are 34 million people living with diabetes. There are 84 million people living with prediabetes, and the awareness of that is low, and our job is to bend the curve and to educate as many people as possible. So I hope this has a domino effect where if we educate one person, it will lead to many.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thanks for your question, Klaus, and for that beautiful response, Lauren. I'm going to put y'all on the spot just for a second and call to mind a story or a moment or a relationship that's been part of this journey and this work? And can you just tell us a little bit about what comes to mind when I ask that?
Me?
Yeah, either. Lauren, why don't we start with you?
I think Sherry and I had
kind of flashbulb memory or something that.
Well, Sherry and I, we connected in 2019, and there was instant chemistry, and I think that we both wanted to do something together, and we wanted to collectively improve the health and well-being, not only of the community that we lived in, but a bigger vision. And we had been trying to figure out what that looked like, and we kept, having conversations and meetings and touch points. And I was really grateful to be invited to participate in some of their health and wellness days and their expo. And then this just sort of happened. And I think even when we were talking about what we could do together, I don't think we ever imagined this. But truly, it does come from the trust and the relationship that Sherry and I had to be able to move this forward as well. And so you never know who you're going to meet, and you have to just follow your passion and your dream, because it does come true.
I agree. And I'll share a story too, Stuart, and this is a tough one because there's actually so many stories you can tell. But the one that probably is at the top of the list, and I'll try not to shed a tear as I say this, because truly the work that we did together was life-changing. And it really is a life or death thing. When you look at the healthcare statistics in the Black community, we take this very, very seriously. So, and I have to tell you, especially working in the Black church for years, the first program that people are probably not trying to sign up for is a health and wellness program, right? So to be able to get over 1,000 people in the middle of a pandemic for a community that is being impacted the most by the pandemic is just, it breaks records, right? And so my stories, and the ones that really touched me, really came on the last day, and it wasn't the 45th day, it was actually the day that we decided to celebrate every single person who completed the challenge. And so we worked with Lauren and team and our wonderful pastors, and we created a wellness celebration and award ceremony that was virtual. And then we had a component that was in person. And because of all the COVID guidelines, we wanted to make sure that it was, kind of touch-free. We actually created a parade, and we created a finish line that was at the front of our church. And so we had signs, and we had people and balloons and giveaways all along the way, celebrating everyone and their accomplishments during this time. And the stories that we heard that day of just the impact that this program has had on their lives, to me, there's nothing like it. There was a woman, in fact, we did a video, and we'll have to share that with everybody. And we had a number of testimonials in that video. And one of the women in that video that we shared that day at the celebration, she talked about having sarcoidosis. And she talked about not even thinking that she would even be able to do something like a 45-day church challenge. But yet she did. And she made it to the end, and she felt stronger and better and healthier, and just could not stop talking about the impact that it had on her life. It's those stories that stick to me. And it's those stories that continue to inspire us to do more, because there is so much more that we can do to help our people.
It's just all take one little moment to breathe. You're right. It's about those moments. I was particularly struck by those comments because in the Faith and Diabetes Initiative, when we first did it here in Houston, we also had a graduation ceremony. And there was a moment where we had the idea to play Pomp and Circumstance too while people were walking down to receive their certificates. And there was one of our trainees who started crying and said, "I never thought this music would play for me." And she ended up to be one of the most impactful, committed, and adept teachers for the DSMES classes, and I'll always remember that. So thanks for reflecting. I wonder, Klaus and Serena, do you have a short moment that you could relay to us from your involvement in the work? I think as we wind down here, it's nice to fill us with that warmth.
Yeah, I think this segment is sponsored by Kleenex. When we did the Faith and Diabetes training in Houston, there was one lady, Marguerite Butler, who had lived with diabetes for a couple of decades, and she came out from under the stigma of living with diabetes and not not telling her family and friends about it, to suddenly become a leader in her AME church, the Brown Chapel in Houston. And I forged a friendship with her, and we stay in touch to this day. So that was just one personal positive experience that I have had with the Faith and Diabetes Initiative. And thank you, Stuart, for all the great training that you did at the Institute for Spirituality and Health. And we wouldn't be where we are with Faith and Diabetes if it wasn't for you.
Thank you, Klaus. It means a great deal. Serena?
Yes. Well, all I could do is tell my own. When I first did, I remember signing up for the Congregational Health Leadership Training in Houston, and I got a call. Actually, I remember this like it was yesterday. I got a phone call from both Stuart and Klaus on the phone telling me that I was accepted to the program. And I was like, yeah, I gotta do it. And so it just so happened the me coming on the first day of training, I had a major eye surgery, and I was like, I didn't want to go at first because I had to walk around with that eye patch, and I was telling everybody, I'm sorry, y'all, I just had surgery, and because of diabetes created some eye issues for me. But me, at the end of the training, I felt so accomplished, and I felt like I knew a lot more than I did before I started. And Stuart, you helped with like shaping how your faith and spirituality goes together with your health. And it was like, ding dong. I was like, I got to tell everybody about this. So this is how I got involved with Cities Changing Diabetes, with the Faith and Diabetes Initiative.
Well, thank you all for the beautiful reflections. I'm going to turn it back over to Klaus. I appreciate the conversation. I appreciate all of your presence. I'm so filled today on a gloomy Houston rainy day. There's a light coming from this conversation. So I just so appreciate it. I can't wait to follow up with a conversation.
Thank you, Stuart. Thank you so much, Lauren, Sherry, and Serena. Also, this was such a meaningful discussion and a great way to finish the year. This is our 28th episode of the first season of MyDiabetesHQ Live. We'll take next Saturday off, but we'll be back in the new year on Saturday, January the 2nd. When you go to Facebook and YouTube, there's a small survey that we would like you to fill out. If you have ideas of topics that we should cover, people you would like to have on the broadcast, including yourself, we would like to get that feedback. We hope that you are all encouraged to consider ways to use your faith and perhaps become a health champion in your faith community, just like Sherry and Serena. Thank you so much, and happy holidays.